And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, once again. JV wins, Dogon SS. Appreciate everybody who is tuning in. Appreciate everybody in advance who will tune in at a later point in time. We certainly appreciate everybody joining us along for this wild ride on the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube, soon to be available on several other platforms in the very near future. So be on the lookout for that. As we always like to say before we kick things off, if this is your first time catching wind of what we like to do over here, feel free to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, leave a comment, and let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any other video as we get things kicked off. And it kind of looks like I've lost my, there we go. I don't know what happened there. I must have hit the wrong button. Right, now we are definitely all set.
Yes.
JV wins, Dogon SS got several interesting topics to kick the tires and light the fires with tonight, so we will go ahead and get right into it. First thing that we are going to discuss are comments made by comedian Andrew Shulz in reaction to a line that Kendrick Lamar dropped on the intro track to his surprise album GNX, which certainly caught me by surprise, but it was a very pleasant surprise. It gave me something new to rock to, and I've been liking it so far. So shouts out to Kendrick for that. It is always nice to hear real music whenever it comes along. So much appreciation to Kendrick for doing that. But what has been talked about, probably more so than other things in relation to comments or content from his album, are comments that he made on the intro track, Whacked Out Murals, in which he talks about white comedians not talking about black women and how that shouldn't be allowed. And so there's been a couple of white comedians who have responded to that. The two that I know off the top of my head are Gary Owen and then also Andrew Shulz.
Gary Owen.
Two guys who, well, I'll just go ahead and get into that. I'll just go ahead and get into the article real quick. So to provide some context for anyone who is unaware of what's going on here, this says Andrew Schulz allegedly labels Kendrick Lamar too woke after his GNX diss. Andrew Schulz allegedly described Kendrick Lamar as too woke to DJ Academics after hearing his new album, GNX, on which he seemingly disses the comedian. While going over the lyrics for the album's intro track, Whacked Out Murals, Academics brought up the bar, "Don't let no white comedian talk about no black women, that's law." He said that when he reached out to Schulz about the line, the Brilliant Idiots co-star remarked, "Is this guy too woke to understand the joke?" As for the joke in question, Schulz came under fire over the summer for an episode of his Flagrant podcast in which he joked about a black girlfriend effect, in which a non-black man dates a black woman and gets a new look. They grow their beard because they need a cushion when they get slapped, he remarked at the time. I think the black girlfriend effect, it might be a protective instinct. Schulz guests on the episode, James Duncan and Fuhad Dawodu, later apologized for laughing, but Schulz refused to follow suit. As a clip of Academics sharing Schulz's reaction to the lyrics circulated online, fans took Lamar's side in the situation. Do people think just because you say something is a joke that immediately clears you of any wrongdoing you said? One user on X wrote on Saturday. O'Shea Jackson Jr. added, "That ain't what y'all call woke or even the original and true meaning of woke. That's just a black man speaking to other black men." Schulz isn't the only person Lamar dissed on Whacked Out Murals. He's already made headlines for mentioning Lil Wayne and their feud over the Super Bowl halftime show. Check out Academics relaying Andrew Schulz's response to Kendrick Lamar below. So I'm not going to play that clip because it's just nothing. It's just Academics saying Schulz said, is Kendrick too woke to understand the joke? There's not much to there, so it will be a waste of 30 seconds to play that clip. So we'll just go ahead and disregard that. But of course, all relevant links are in the description of this video. So if you want to see that clip for yourself, go ahead and check that out. With respect to Schulz and him actually making those comments, he made those comments directly to academics. But if you want to see the original comment that allegedly spurred Kendrick saying this, the link also allows you to check out the YouTube clip from that podcast episode from back in the summer when Schulz said what he said. So, allegedly, according to your boy, DJ Academics, Schulz has responded to Kendrick's line by questioning whether Kendrick is too woke to take a joke. Do you think Schulz has a point in questioning Kendrick for being too woke, or do you think Schulz needs to take a seat?
Funny. I think Schulz overall needs to take a seat. I think him as a person need to take a seat, several seats. And here's my thing with Schulz or anybody else like him. So this is for the Adam 22s or the DJ Vlads that loiter outside of our stuff, our cultural things, and weigh in a lot. And Schulz, he's got the Negro card with the fact that he's buddy with Charlemagne, so he feels like he could weigh in with things. And his brand of comedy, for the most part, is getting at everybody. That's his shtick as far as hey, I make fun of all groups of people, so it is what it is with that. So I'm a comedian, leave me alone kind of thing. So he has his angles of stuff, but at the same time, he weighs in on things, whether he's joking or not. In this context, what I'm talking about is the woke thing. He weighs in kind of like how Vlad does or Adam 22 does, as if their opinion matters. Kendrick, I feel as though Kendrick is setting a boundary, setting a standard for what he feels like should be going on out here culturally, not just within our community, but American culture, and telling non-black comedians to back up. Even if you date black women, this is not your place. So of course Schulz is going to say what he says, but he always says what he says, and he's a bit of a smart aleck. And he's a guy that throws stones and hides his hands. So in this context, I think that he's out of bounds in the sense that Kendrick is too woke. I feel like that's a label that Kendrick, it's as a what do you want to how I say as a stigma. People just want to automatically label him too woke or too conscious or whatever. But I don't think he's too woke at all. I think he's who he is, and I think his opinions and thoughts are much needed in today's culture. So I don't think he's too woke, and I think Schulz is doing the same thing of what DJ Vlad did, which I criticized Vlad for, where he was like, "Oh, the mixing wasn't good," and it's like, well, I don't care what you have to say. What is he getting at when he's saying these things? And I think what Kendrick is getting at is that nobody else is running around here doing this, talking about any other group of women like that. So back off. So what are your thoughts on Kendrick saying what he has to say, and then Schulz's rebuttal, I guess, to this whole situation, saying that Kendrick's a little too woke for his own good? What are your thoughts, man?
I think he's wrong calling Kendrick woke, but I also don't fault him for taking the position that he's taking. Comedy's under attack. Comedy is under attack by legitimate wokeness. Mm-hmm. What Kendrick did isn't woke though. Kendrick just made a critique about something that he doesn't particularly fancy when it comes to things that white comedians do. Okay. That to me isn't woke. That's just him making an observation, which is what things like comedy are supposed to elicit. So I think they both have a place. Mm-hmm. A couple of weeks ago, when we talked about RDC, I mentioned how I feel for artists, particularly comedians, because in this current climate, they're having to figure out on the fly how to still be comedians in the wake of an overcorrection of political correctness when it comes to art. Mm-hmm. And how comedy is actually being assaulted as a result of this, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And one of the comedians that I mentioned as a case study for this, I actually mentioned two individuals. Both of them are white comedians. I mentioned Lisa Lampanelli and I mentioned Amy Schumer. Back when the two of them were at the peak of their popularity and they had stand up specials on Comedy Central, I
Mhm.
would watch them because I personally am a fan of stand up comedy. I admire the craft, and anybody who is courageous enough, bold enough, and vulnerable enough to actually be or do stand up comedy, I'm going to give it a chance because I respect what it takes to actually attempt it. So as a result, some of these comedians, they'd have their stand-up specials and I would watch just to see what their bit was all about. And those two comedians in particular, Lisa Lampanelli and Amy Schumer, a large portion, not all, but a large portion of their stand-up routine was illuminating how, in light of the fact they are overweight white women, they date black men.
Mhm.
So they would make jokes talking about how white men reject them because they're overweight and they're out of shape. But where can they go and find attention? They can go to black men and get attention because despite the fact that they are overweight, they are nonetheless overweight white females. And that is something that apparently black men covet. And and it would get a whole lot of laughs and people would, do all of this stuff. Now, me personally as a black guy who abhors that brand of comedy, I didn't particularly appreciate it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it because I'm a black guy who prefers women who are in shape. Whether I don't care what your race or color is, I'm not one of these black dudes out here thirsting for overweight white women. If you're not in particular shape, you can keep it moving. And there's a lot of other black guys who are like that, who are like me. They share in that sentiment. And so that is a broad generalization used by these two particular comedians in order to get a laugh and in order to sort of curate a stand up routine out of that kind of overgeneralized sentiment. I
Mhm.
didn't particularly appreciate it. Now, did I think that they needed to be ostracized from comedy as a result? Did I think that they needed to be blackballed? Was I the type of person who was going to complain, call Comedy Central and talk about this online and put comments on message boards and hop to Reddit complaining about this because I feel like they needed to be, you know, just permanently removed from the face of comedy? No, because I think as much as I detest that form of comedy, it has a place within the ecosystem of art, not because they are right or wrong, but because what they are saying nevertheless generates some kind of conversation, which I think is the point of all of this. And so while I don't necessarily appreciate that brand of comedy because it doesn't speak to my sensibilities, my thought was let them stick around and do what they do. The market will dictate whether they need to be gone or not. It's not for me to say she doesn't have a place in comedy because all comedians have their own brand of comedy and it is what it is.
Mhm.
For me to leap to the conclusion that they need to be fired or removed from Comedy Central or never be given an opportunity again would have been an overcorrection on my part, which in my opinion would be woke, quote unquote. Kendrick didn't do that. Kendrick made an observation no different than the observation that I make whenever I say I don't like Lisa Lampanelli joking about black guys who like overweight white women. Kendrick didn't say Andrew Schulz needs to be, removed from comedy, fired. Well, allegedly, if Andrew Schulz is the comedian that Kendrick is speaking on, because we don't know that. Kendrick
Mhm.
didn't mention no names. He just spoke about the penchant for certain white comedians to do such a thing. And he
Mhm.
wasn't saying get rid of them, remove them, fire them. They need to be reprimanded. I demand an apology. Kendrick was just making his comment based on the fact that he does not appreciate that brand of comedy. No different than I would make the observation that I don't appreciate Lisa Lampanelli or Amy Schumer's brand of comedy whenever they talk about black men who like overweight white women. So I don't think Kendrick is being woke in that regard. And so from that standpoint, I think Schultz is off base. However, if I'm being consistent, I also do believe Schulz should be allowed to do what he does. And if people don't like it, the market will bear it out and he'll go away. But I think that what he does has a particular place because it does spark needed conversation about the merit of that kind of content, of that kind of art, and of that kind of comedy. And if I am going to somewhat defend Andrew Schulz here, um, and it isn't really him that I'm defending specifically, I'm defending what he's responding to because I think what he's responding to is America's current propensity to demonize certain forms of art on the basis that there needs to be a certain level of sensitivity applied to them, thereby that art having to adhere to that sensitivity and comedians being silenced as a result. Some people can sidestep this because they don't care, like Chappelle. He'll still do his LGBTQ jokes and not care. It's almost as though he's too big to fail. But a lot of these comedians aren't in his position, and they are actually having to figure out how to navigate the landscape of comedy because they're being told that certain jokes are no longer applicable. They're being told that stuff that used to be okay 5 to 10 years ago is no longer okay because it's too offensive, and stuff is just not being permitted anymore. And opportunities in comedy are being taken away, or not necessarily handed out to the degree that they used to be handed out, because like big Hollywood comedy apparatuses don't want to run the risk of having a comedian commit what in today's current culture would be considered a faux pas. And I think what he's responding to is that the ecosystem around the assault on comedy. And in my opinion, I do believe stand-up comedy is being attacked, in my opinion. That's not to say that I think Andrew Schulz is this great stand-up comedian, but he is a comedian with skin in the game nevertheless. And I do believe that if a comedian in his position feels some type of way about their perceived art form being assaulted or put under attack, I can't necessarily fault him for that, because I do think it's unfortunate that in a lot of respects, comedians are having to double back and figure out a plan B because they can't do what they've been trained to do for as long as they can remember, because what they have been good at for so long is now not okay / offensive / inappropriate / insensitive. And I think that that's what he was responding to. So I guess I'm not really taking a stance either way. I think everybody's right, not necessarily right, but I see where everyone's coming from. I think he was wrong in labeling Kendrick as too woke, because he's not being woke. He's doing what comedy is supposed to do, which is you do something, I respond to it. That's the point of it. And I think where we've jumped the shark when it comes to comedy in particular is when you silence these individuals and prohibit them from doing this, we can't in turn proceed to have those thought-provoking conversations, which is what the point of comedy is supposed to be. So is Kendrick woke? No. But does Schulz have a point to respond to anti-wokeness when it comes to comedy? In my opinion, yeah. And I also think that Kendrick, much like me responding to Lisa Lampanelli, has a point in saying, I don't appreciate that kind of comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. But my stance with Schulz is, because I have a stance on him, and like I said, the Adam 22s or the DJ Vlads. And again, I said that they kind of loiter. They just hang around. Nobody asks these people for any of their opinions ever, but they just loiter around our stuff and weigh in on our stuff all the time.
Our stuff as in what? In the case of Schulz, because I know what you mean about Vlad and Adam 22, but in the case of Schulz, who's a comedian, what do you mean by our stuff?
Well, he does podcasts and stuff, and he's always talking about topics. And so when I say our stuff, I mean things that are headlined by, certain celebrities, so certain rappers, certain things that are going on. and he'll be talking about those things. He doesn't run a hip hop platform, but he'll be talking about that stuff, amongst other things. But he loiters around and weighs in and gives his opinion because Charlemagne is the buffer for that. Because Charlemagne's around, so he's going to bring up stuff. And then because Charlemagne is bringing up stuff within our community, here comes Schulz with his take on what's going on in our community.
So is that not more Charlemagne's fault than Schulz?
Well, no, it's Schulz because Schulz is hiring Charlemagne. So here's my thing. Well, again, when I'm talking about these people, I'm talking about these people that, again, want to weigh in on our stuff and hang around and just be talking and giving talking points. And if there's anything that comes up that is like in this case where Kendrick Lamar has his thing to say, whatever. Now, I guess this is his realm. This is Schultz's realm because he mentioned comedy. So, Schulz saying something, I guess. But still, it's a thing where, it's kind of it's like they have cow prods. These guys, they have cow prods. They, I don't want to give them whips, but they got cow prods, and they just keep us in this, state of thought being, hey, stay in the cage. Hey, Nixon ain't good. He's too woke. Because woke is, and it is taken as a 4-letter word. So it's a negative connotation to it. And, Kendrick's too much for his own good. And then there's going to be people that are listening to this and it's like, yeah, man, I agree. Because he be talking about all these topics that, blah, 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 and he is a little too woke for me. And it's a way of getting the mind to think a certain way and stay in a box. Instead of doing what instead of listening to what Kendrick had to say about this situation and doing what you say about the Lisa Lampanelli thing and having more of us think like how we don't care for this, so we're not going to check for it. Because Kendrick was pretty much talking to us, not anybody else. So when he's making that statement, I mean, overhearers can overhear it and they can have their opinion about it. But Kendrick was more or less talking to people that were similar to him. And, and so he's saying that, hey, that's law. And so by saying that that's law, it gives the listener ammunition to go, you know what? I don't really care. I never really cared for that. But, Kendrick's right, man. I never really liked that and I don't care for it. So Bill Burr, for instance, he has a black wife. And he brings up his black wife a lot, but he when he's talking about his wife, he's talking about his wife. He's not talking about how black his wife is. He's not like the other guy. I forgot the guy's name that you said had something to say. He's always
Gary Owen.
Yeah, Gary Owens. He's got to do the black voice. He's got to get sassy. He's got to do all this stuff. And people be eating it up. I don't get it.
Well, he was married to a black woman as well.
I know. But he does he takes it the other way is what I'm getting at. So that's why I said Bill Burr is more or less respectful about it in a sense where he's like, yeah, I got a black wife and, whoop-de-whoop. And it's well known. But, whenever he's doing his wife comedy, it's wife comedy, not black wife comedy. And that Gary Owens guy would be black women. White. I'm the white guy to cookout comedy. And it's like, hey, all right. You know what I'm saying? I'm the odd guy out all the time comedy. And I don't get that lane, but people be going to his shows and laughing at him. And so it is what it is with that. He's not overtly offensive. So it's not that I have a problem with that. But what Kendrick is getting at here is that, hey, just ease up on that. Or for black people that are not okay with that, don't listen to him, like the Lisa Lampanelli stuff. Just don't do it. Like what he's doing is like how you said that you agree with. is that, well, don't patronize this stuff. So yeah, I don't think that's too woke. I think that was in-house, even though it's on wax. And that's how it was meant to be taken. But Schulz, again, a guy on the outside being a cow prodder, zapping people and always got something smart to say. He's gonna say something like this to make Kendrick, to paint Kendrick in a bad light. So if you're picking up what I'm putting down here, it's just particular stuff that I don't care for, because I think what has gone on and what we complain about, I'll speak for myself, what I complain about here in hip hop culture, or what it's turned into, is that there is the actors as far as the rappers are concerned, and then there's the media people, and then there's also the labels that put people up to this stuff. And so the labels that put these rappers up to shoot them up, bang, bang, they need to go. And then these people on the outside that make sure that a certain mindset stays in bounds, they need to go. So I don't care for Schwartz, Vlad, or Adam 22, because of how they cover and hang around stuff that's supposed to be for us, and keeps everything in a cage. And if he really respected our culture, then he would understand what Kendrick was trying to get at there and not say anything at all, because he wasn't directly talking to him. But he has to do this because he has a platform, and he has to make sure that any one of us that overhears him stays in line, if that makes sense. So that's why I don't care for him. He says things that I laugh at. That don't mean I care for him. And for this, I disagree. With the fact that he thinks that Kendrick's being too woke, and I disagree for him saying anything at all. So I just don't care. I don't care for it one way or the other from Schwartz. I just keep his mouth shut.
Schwartz. I don't mind him saying something, because like I said before, I do have a certain modicum of respect for the art form that is comedy. Mm-hmm. And I do think that it needs to be preserved as much as possible, because there's a place that it has within the social tapestry of America. And I think the more it's diluted, the more in danger it becomes of becoming extinct. Not to necessarily suggest that Andrew Shulz is a vanguard for comedy, because he's just, to me, he's just another comedian. He isn't anything particularly special. But having said that, if he wants to respond to what he perceives to be an attack on comedy, I can't necessarily fault him for that. There's more meat on the bones with this topic, and I don't want to have this go on longer. But the only thing that I'll say with respect to the notion that individual, I don't put Schulz in the same category as people like Vlad and Adam 22. For me, there's an extra level of exploitation inherent in what Adam 22 and Vlad does.
Agreed.
And I don't feel with Schulz or Gary Owen or some of these other comedians. I've just always cringed whenever they've done their black comedy bit. So as Lisa Lampanelli, as an example, as a black man, I don't want to hear jokes about how black men love overweight white women. That is an overgeneralization that, as a black man, I don't appreciate, because I don't like overweight white women. I don't like overweight women, period, let alone whether they're white or otherwise. I don't give a damn what color they are. If you're overweight, you probably need to do a couple of squats and snatches and cleans for me personally.
Hysterical.
But the point of it is to stir conversation so that we can actually talk on this stuff. And so I think he has a place in this. And then, just one other thing that you said that I'm kind of uncomfortable with is this idea that hanging around our stuff is tantamount to, consorting with hip hop, because I just don't believe hip hop is owned by black people. I think black people might participate in it at the highest level. I don't think we own it. We don't control the supply and demand of any of the commentary for the most part. We don't own who makes the majority of the money off of it, and we don't control the messaging. All of those things are controlled by people who don't look like black people.
Right.
And so the problem that I have with suggesting that you're Lord, and I'm just speaking toward that idea. Me personally, and this is why I've fallen back from hip hop in general, is because although we represent it from a participation standpoint more than other communities, from an ownership perspective and from a control perspective, we represent the least of that. And so that's why infiltrators like Adam 22 and Vlad can come in and do their thing, because the people who control the supply and demand of the product look more like them than look like us.
Exactly. So they control the slaughterhouse. The people that look like them control the slaughterhouse, and then they are on the outside with the cow prods, making sure everybody stays on the conveyor belt.
If you want to look at it that way, that's fine.
That was my whole analogy.
Yeah, I get that, and that's okay. Me, I'll just say that I don't think Schulz, somewhat to his credit, engages in the same level of exploitation that those other guys do.
No, it's different.
Yeah, and I do think that at the end of the day, Schulz is speaking up for the art form of comedy. And right or wrong, fair or unfair, because again, I've seen some of Schulz stand-ups. I don't think they're funny. Like, I don't think that Schulz is funny. But he's got enough skin in the game for me that if he wants to speak up on behalf of what he perceives to be an attack on comedy, I understand where he's coming from with that, because I do believe that comedy is under attack. But I think it's a conflation to attach Kendrick to that, saying that Kendrick is too woke to understand a joke, because Kendrick is doing the exact same thing that I do when I complain about Amy Schumer and Lisa Lampanelli, which is that's their comedy, but I don't like it. And I don't like it for this particular reason. It all deserves a place within the ecosystem. And unless Kendrick is sitting up here saying these types of comedians need to go, which he's not, I think it is taking it a step too far to categorize him as being too woke. So that's kind of where I come from with that. But I do hear where you're coming from. This hip hop stuff, to me, respectfully to you, just gets a bit too dicey, because I think we sold this stuff out 20 years ago. And so for us to continue to hang on to that, talking about what is or is not artfully unique to us, is a bit of a fallacy, because we don't control it or own it. And that to me is a larger conversation than talking about, the individuals who are holding the cattle prods.
I got you. And I guess what I'm getting at is we do own and control our own thoughts. And it lays within the framework of what people call hip hop, which is not controlled by us, it's controlled by other people. And what I'm speaking of is the mental slavery aspect of getting out of certain forms of thought. And what Kendrick is doing is telling us that, hey, guys, you guys are on a conveyor belt. Take a step to the left.
So you're okay, yeah, okay. So you're speaking on behalf of the idea that Kendrick wasn't even actually talking to Schulz. He was talking to
he was speaking, right. He was speaking to the greater picture of get these types of thoughts. Stop allowing people to talk about you like that. And then so Schulz is saying, get back on that belt. And so there's the Adam 22s who bag and tag and throw the cows on the damn belt to begin with. And Schulz is somewhere down the line. He's not doing exactly what Vlad and them doing, but he's got the same instrument, making sure everybody stays in that same line of thought. And so that's where I don't agree with him and or anybody else. And I've lumped them all in the same boat, because they're all hanging around our thoughts. and they're telling us to think a certain way. Kendrick is talking about something spectacular on one of these songs, and here comes Vlad talking about mixing and mastering. And that's what I'm talking about. It's just a little zzz, zzz, and it's like, hey man, what is he trying to really say? And he's talking to us and saying that, hey, have more standards for what you accept of what people call comedy, because a lot of people can put a lot of things under the guise of it being art. And so my thing is that Schulz does that very well. And so, like I said, there's ways that you could talk about race things like Dave Chappelle would do, where he's making stereotypical stuff, but at the same time, there's a high level to it, to where if you're catching or picking up what he's putting down, you can see how ridiculous being so stereotypical would land you, versus just making straight up stereotypical jokes. And so that's what Schulz does, and that's why he's not funny to me. So yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you know, I look at this as I think Kendrick's on a mission, and whenever he says something, it is a little too woke, I guess, for Sir Schulz.
Well, that's just taking the word woke and applying it in whatever capacity you want, because that's not actual wokeness. I don't know, man. I hear all of that, but you know, like I said, I grew up on a lot of stand-up comedy, and I have throughout my years seen my fair share of black comedians commenting on white people. And it's not that, I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but it's not that far off from the types of things that Schulz does. So it just depends on where you're coming from with that. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of this is about positions of power. And I think it's easier to be able to get away with certain things when you're in a particular position of leverage. So, you know, there's definitely more meat on this. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be more to come. But I'm just looking at this from the standpoint of comedy. And I do think that comedy is under attack. I do. And I do think that it's unfortunate, but I also do think that it is unreasonable to categorize certain critiques of comedy as being woke, because that's just at that point using it as a trigger word. And I do think that that's what Schulz was doing when he used that word, because that's no different than what I do with some of the comedy that I comment on that I don't appreciate.
Word.
Shouts out to Kendrick, man. It's a great album. I've been running it back nonstop.
Yeah.
And now we're going to get into Katt Williams, who apparently has bought land in Alabama for the purposes of creating his own movie studio. So Katt Williams, and I thought this would have been bigger news than what it was, but Katt Williams apparently purchased a military base in Alabama that is no longer used as a military base, obviously, the purpose of which is to build his own creative arts studio, similar to what Tyler Perry did with his movie studio. So this to me is very interesting news. It says Katt Williams purchases land in Alabama to open movie studio. It's just not fair to put all that pressure on Tyler Perry. Katt Williams has purchased land to open a movie studio. During an interview with GQ, the comedian revealed he has acquired a former military base located in Alabama. It has been confirmed by Williams' publicist, Amy Sisoyev. I butchered that. Sisoyev. I can't disclose the amount or exact location just yet, but I can confirm that he has purchased a former military base in Alabama, Sisoyev said via email to AL.com. Williams shared that he aims to follow in the footsteps of other celebrities, such as Tyler Perry. As Afrotech previously reported, Perry, a self-made billionaire, opened the world's largest black-owned studio. The studio, which Perry self-funded, reached a valuation of $280 million in 2023. Speaking of wanting to be next in line, Williams commented to GQ, "It's just not fair to put all that pressure on Tyler Perry. He can only do so much." At the time of this writing, it is unclear when the movie studio will break ground. Williams is part of a growing number of Black figures seeking to disrupt Hollywood and take greater control within the entertainment industry. Others include Marvel actor Anthony Mackie, who in 2022 purchased 20 acres of land to build a studio in his hometown of New Orleans, Louisiana. However, the progress of the venture has not been revealed. In April 2024, 50 Cent opened his 985,000 square foot movie studio in Shreveport, Louisiana, according to Blavity. As someone who has always believed in the transformative power of music, film, and television, I'm beyond excited to introduce the expansion of my G Unit Film and Television through the launch of G Unit Studios right here in Shreveport. From the gritty narratives of the streets to the compelling stories that define our era, G Unit has always been more than just entertainment. It's a platform for voices that need to be heard, stories that need to be told, 50 Cent told Billboard. Revolt reports the studio has been rolling out non scripted content since July, and scripted content will be launched by January 2025. To no surprise, 50 Cent views Perry as a mentor and had previously visited Tyler Perry Studios. I'm leaving no room for error. Tyler showed me some shit today that inspired me, he wrote on Instagram. Is that the end? Okay, so yeah, that concludes that. So there you have it. Katt Williams purchased a military base in Alabama to follow behind the likes of Tyler Perry, 50 Cent, and Anthony Mackie in creating his own movie studio. So, what do you make of this news of what Katt did here?
I like it. I think it's a step in the right direction. My only critique of it is a military base. I don't know. I don't really feel good about that. But I do like the fact that he is buying land uh, with the premise of creating his own studio. I think that is awesome and commendable. And I think we kind of talked about this when we were talking about the um, what was that? Was it the Kaepernick thing or was it the RDC one? It was either one of those where we was basically just saying that, yeah, man, it needs to be. I think it was the Kaepernick one where we was pretty much getting at to, have a place where creatives can actually create something. I don't know if it would be open to the public. I would hope that he would have it to where, um, it's affordable to film there or shoot there. Um, so yeah, I mean, I like the idea. I think we need more of this type of stuff. Um, more grassroots. Not any legacy type of connections to it, where uh, the fat cats, the good old boy clubs that existed in the past have the say on everything. Maybe there can actually be something out there where there's some substance behind it that comes out of these studios. Maybe finally I'll get my Negroes Out of Space film that I've been that I've been yearning for. All right. So hopefully there's no 50 Cent type things or Tyler Perry type things coming out of these studios. Hopefully there's more creativity than that. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts here, man. I'm highly in favor of it. Uh, and yeah, I just think that more of us need to have these types of endeavors, man. But what are your thoughts on Sir Katt Williams? Uh, buying land in Alabama. I'm not mad at the location. You got to get it where you can get it.
Mhm.
But buying land in Alabama to have his own movie studio. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'm optimistic about it as well. I think that it's great. You know, one way that you can create an environment in which creatives, actors, actresses, producers, writers are no longer under the yoke of the Hollywood power apparatus is to break free of it and create your own studio.
Hmm.
So, from that standpoint, I think it symbolizes something that the entertainment industry desperately needs. Also, when you go independent or you go an alternative route and you don't have to play by the rules of these power brokers, these major movie studios, You don't have to deal with people telling you how to write your stuff or how to film your stuff or what you need to be doing or not doing. So I am in favor of it all the way around. Katt is an enlightened individual, and hopefully no different than a professional sports franchise where the culture of that organization starts from the top down, where if the owner is a person who values instilling a good culture, that's going to sort of matriculate down into all the rest of the areas of the organization. That's why the same teams win year after year, because they are empowered via a good culture that's established by a good owner or good ownership. And this can pave the way for that very same thing. So I'm in favor of it from that regard. I will also say that I am in favor of it for the reason that it will actually employ creatives instead of farming a lot of the work for this to apps and technology and AI, presumably. We've talked on various videos on this channel many times in the past, and I've mentioned my trepidation with AI. I don't like how AI is removing humans from the equation and replacing people in the workforce. If this movie studio makes it so that it gives directors, writers, producers, videographers, audio visual experts, storyboard people, editing people with these talents, if it gives them the opportunity to lend their talents to the world in a physical space and it employs them in order to do so, I am also very optimistic about that as well. I think we need less of this aggressive embracing of AI that we have seen taking place in other areas of industry, particularly in this country. Where I will say that I am hopeful, because I don't know that this will be the case. So I have to say that I'm hopeful when it comes to this thing with Katt, is that he instills a culture that encourages a diversification of content. We do need that, especially when it comes to Black-owned art. You alluded to this in your opening statements. Tyler Perry is whatever, but there is a singularity when it comes to Tyler Perry content, from what I can tell. And it's the sisters and what are some of these other shows that he's been a part of producing? You've mentioned before, like it's a lot of the patriarch is cheating on the wife with his assistant, or the single mother is down and out and needs an opportunity and she needs help in order to get herself back on her feet, or it's the single father fighting for custody from the toxic woman he's trying to co-parent with. It's some of these themes that are inherent in Tyler Perry productions. They're kind of all the same. And I wish that he would break away from that, to use your point, and just go in outer space or create some sort of a fantasy IP where it's Black actors and actresses and they're being orcs and wizards fighting dragons, or they're time traveling, or something like that. Give us some sort of diversification. Same thing with 50 Cent. For all of 50 Cent's success, there's a singularity when it comes to the content that comes from his factory, and it's street stuff. I think somebody pointed out on a video that we did discussing 50 Cent not too long ago that 50 Cent was a part of producing some show that's not like that. That was on network television about a guy it's the show about the guy. He's a Black actor, and he becomes a lawyer while he's in prison to try and get himself out of prison. I forget the name of the show, but that was like a G Unit production or a 50 Cent production or something like that. But outside of that, everything else is Power Universe and BMF stuff. And so can we please get something different other than that? And so my hope, my plea when it comes to initiatives like those that we haven't seen bear fruit yet, like with Anthony Mackie, because I didn't even know he did that. But, presumably Anthony Mackie, he creates his own studio and he's able to control the supply and demand of art that comes out of his content factory, similar to Katt Williams as the person who's in charge. hopefully there's a diversification of the kind of content that comes out of those content factories. That's what I would like to see. There's no reason why we can't have a majority black cast that is, fighting dragons, or, learning how to use magic. Where are the black people who are going to magic school and going to Hogwarts, fighting the Balrog, going hopping in the DeLorean and time traveling? Let's get a Stargate SG-1, but with black people. I would like to see stuff like that. No more of this woe is me. Uh, you know, we shall overcome. I'm fighting the man, I'm fighting the system, or I'm street hustling. Because from what I can tell, the majority of black owned productions have been just that. And I'd like to see some diversification. So if people like 50 Cent and Tyler Perry want to stay in their lane, that's fine. But individuals like Tyler Perry, individuals like Anthony Mackie and Katt Williams, just provide additional opportunities for there to be that lack of singularity. So that's my hope with it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that, man. So we'll see. Here's hoping. Okay, so here's hoping to that. Here's my thing with Tyler Perry and 50 Cent for that matter. Um, uh, they're allowed to do what they do because of the content that they make. And there's nobody telling them that they can't do that. They get awards for it. They're encouraged to make more, and so they're going to make more, and then there's going to be copycats from that. And the stuff that they make is no different from the stuff that comes out from major studios to begin with. So it's right in line with how we have been typecast as a people. And so, I joke about the Negroes in outer space, but that'll definitely help us get out of the mindset that we are limited people living in limited circumstances. And it's either got to be door 1, door 2, or door 3. And my whole thing is that there's 100 doors here and we can go anywhere we want. But, every time we turn on a TV or watch a movie, we're either in one of these 3 doors. So I don't feel like people feel like there's only those 3 doors by accident. And hopefully the other 97 doors, there's Katt Williams will allow that to be a thing. Because yeah, man, I'm over everything Tyler Perry. And when we did discuss that 150 Cent show where it's not the Power Universe or BMF, but it's still centered around jail stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm not in favor of that either. I'm not saying that their story can't be told, but there's 97 other doors. So let's take a venture into one of those. You don't need big ridiculous budgets in order to make a movie that has a lot of creativity and substance. That's the reason why when that Peel guy made Get Out, everybody was going goo goo gaga over that, because it was a different kind of movie. It wasn't the same cookie cutter approach to what everybody's been seeing. It was something a little different, and it had meanings behind it, and it was a good movie. And so there's ways that things can be captured where you don't need CGI and grandiose stuff. And like Tyler Perry said, man, with the advent of AI and things, all that CGI stuff gets a little easier, I would suppose. So the sky's the limit for the types of storytelling that can be given. And yeah, man, I just don't want to see the same old generic cookie cutter stuff. So if he comes out with things and it's, comedy this, comedy that, a comedy about a car wash, you know what I'm saying? A comedy about Christmas or Thanksgiving, or at somebody's big mama house,
Or church.
or a church or some funeral. I'm like, yeah, Yeah, here we go again, guys. You know what I'm saying? It's the same old same, man. Just tap dancing in a military base in Alabama, but it's no different than anything else. So I say that, hey man, I got my fingers crossed, man. Katt, he professes himself to be somebody that's not an industryite, even though he's made a lot of money in it. He claims like he's never been a part of anything shady or shisty within the industry, but he keeps getting calls. So we'll see if this endeavor is actually something that is, something that we can hang our hat on. Not that we wish and hope that celebrities are going to do any damn thing, but it's still a thing of, damn, bro, we need something better to watch.
Yeah.
So, hey man, here's hoping, man. Good thing there, Mr. Katt. And for anybody else out there who may not be on the Katt Williams, plateau or nothing like that, but you got ambitions to be into a film or anything like that, just take this blueprint that you yourself can create your own studio, and you don't have to send your scripts to these people that don't appreciate it. Put that blood, sweat, and tears behind it yourself, and get a crack a lacking. So yeah, I love this stuff. I really do.
For Life is the name of that show. For Life, the show about the guy who was in jail and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That was the name of that show. It lasted one season, by the way, so it didn't even last. It didn't even last. No, it lasted 2 seasons, so
Okay.
It didn't last very long. Yeah, ironically, Tyler Perry was in a Star Trek movie. So, like, I don't, he's been in movies like that.
Mm-hmm.
He also played the Alex Cross character once.
That's
He
right.
was like a badass cop. So, like, Tyler Perry's done the non-stereotypical black art before as an actor himself. But when it comes to things that he's responsible for producing, there tends to be a singularity to it. So, like, my hope is that we just break away from the singularity. I moved, like, I stopped. I think the last slavery movie I watched was Django. Django's the last. I refuse to watch any more slavery movies. Like, I'm not going to sit here and continuously ingratiate myself in historical black trauma for my entertainment anymore. Like, I just take a stand on that. So all of this, I'm getting abused by my baby mama or baby daddy, or I'm living out in the streets and I got to feed my kids, and so I need a handout, or I'm selling all of this dope and I'm the number one kingpin. I'm just over the black trauma variety of art. So I think with more individuals creating their own content factories comes increased opportunities for there to be those who diverge from that. So that is my optimism. So hopefully we see that happen.
Agreed. 1,000.
Shouts out to Katt. Hopefully we can break ground on that, and hopefully there's good things to come in the future.
Jeez. For real.
Next up, we are going to discuss comments made by Jaleel White, who is most famously otherwise known as Steve Urkel,
Damn.
from the family television sitcom from the 90s known as Family Matters. If you are a millennial or older, there is absolutely no way whatsoever that you do not know what Family Matters or who Steve Urkel is. But the reason why we are discussing Jaleel White is because he made some interesting comments talking about college. And he described how, although he's grateful for the fact that he was accepted into UCLA, throughout his career, he's never been degree checked. And in hindsight, he wishes that he dropped out of college, because all college appears to do for people nowadays is leave them in a whole lot of debt. So this says Jaleel White admits he should have dropped out of UCLA, says college leads many people to a lot of debt. Actor Jaleel White has expressed significant regrets about his college years. In a recent conversation with Melissa Rivers, the Family Matters star shared that while he's proud to have attended UCLA, he now believes he should have left sooner to continue his acting career. I love that I was accepted at UCLA, of course. That's a prestigious thing, but I do wish after 2 years I had dropped out. According to White, he's never been degree checked, and he views the college diploma as merely a tool to keep Americans financially strained. So there's more quotes there, but I'm actually going to play the video so that you can actually hear what he said. So White also shared that his mother was a key motivator in his decision to stay in college, even when he was ready to quit. White joined Family Matters in 1989 and remained on the series until 1998, spanning 9 seasons in total. In 1997, he won an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actor in a comedy series for his role as Steve Urkel on the show. In 2001, White graduated from UCLA with a degree in film and television. So here is Mr. Jaleel expounding on his regrets when it comes to the fact that he never dropped out of college.
Coming here somehow, pouring into his class.
Wait, I'm gonna run that back since it started off muted.
And this dude is giving college credits, and kids are coming here somehow, pouring into his classroom, feeling that they are enriching themselves. One step closer to that degree. Listen, I hate admitting it, but I love that I was accepted to UCLA.
Of course.
That's a prestigious thing. But I do wish after 2 years I had dropped out. It's
really?
Yeah. And I say it in the book. We're running into an issue now that's starting to become very, I've never been degree checked in my life, Melissa.
Well, neither have I.
Ever, okay? We're running into a period, and pandemic made it really, really apparent. College was supposed to lead you to a better career.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people in our country, it's just leading them to a lot of debt.
Yeah.
And that has to be figured out. I don't know how it's going to get figured out, what's going to be the tipping point. But, college is, for a person like me to have left college early would have been no different than Kobe Bryant leaving college early to go to the Lakers.
Right.
I just didn't. I had my mom on my shoulder, just clinging to those boomer values, going, you will do no different. And that's the difference.
Yeah, just wait till your daughter's in it. You're going to be like, you're not leaving. And by the way, yes, that history degree has served me so well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is it crushed it, right?
I use it all the time.
All the time.
Oh, I can relate to that. So, what do you make of what Jaleel White had to say there about the fact that he wishes as though he had dropped out after 2 years at UCLA?
I mean, I agree to the extent that he really didn't need to go. I think he was already, I don't know what the timeline for where he was on TV and stuff, but I mean, the guy he didn't need a college degree. But college. So my problem with college is that people can be learning that stuff in middle school. The way that the American education system is set up is that you are put in position to be have a piece of paper that, like how he says, means nothing, but you do learn a lot of cool stuff, I would say, in college, stuff that you would not have learned in high school or K through 12. So me going to college, I was able to learn certain habits that I needed that carried me through life. My degree did get me jobs, not in particularly in my field, but there is a gate that you have to have a key to. So my degree has gotten me positions to where if I didn't have that bachelor's, I would have been screwed. So yes, we were sold a dream about college. But at the same time, there are good things that you do learn from, being in college and having a college experience. My problem with that is that, again, you can learn all of those core values, disciplines. Hell, some of the stuff, most of the stuff that people learn in college could be learned when kids are in middle school. And I feel as though the educational system here is flawed, and you shouldn't have to wait until your junior year in college to actually be learning what the hell you're interested in. And I think it's set up in a way for failure. And so, yeah, I agree with him in the sense that something needs to change, because people walk out of those doors with thousands, tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and no job to run to go pay that off. And so, yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, it's a racket. What else do you expect? And so my word of advice is to people, like he said, I think he was saying, like, as far as his child or whatever, like, I mean, you got to make sure that you educate your child to the point to where they don't need to go to a university, because this is the last thing I'll say is, once you get up there in university classes and you're taking this stuff, you've been doing it for a while, you start to realize that everything is just the book. And the teacher is there to help sometimes, but honestly, they're just going along with the book. And if you didn't read the book, you're going to fail the class. So it's just a structured way to make sure you read these books. And if that was being taught and cultivated at a younger age, the child would be better off. Now, will they have this degree or certificate? No. So I guess it varies of whatever the person wants to get into. But, the point is that being highly educated isn't something that you should rely on an institution for in order to make sure you make that happen. And I think people need to take the power in their own hands and to educating themselves. And if they have little youngins, making sure that they're being educated the right way instead of relying on these institutions, which is basically money laundering schemes. But what are your thoughts, sir, on Jaleel White saying that, hey, man, he was better off being Kobe Bryant and skipping college? What are your thoughts, bro?
I think his mother did him a grave disservice by making him go. If based on what he said there, because based on the video, his mom was an overwhelming influence in him staying.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is the case, I think that was a mistake on her part. He graduated from UCLA in 2001, which means if he started and did it traditionally for 4 years, he went there in 1997. Family Matters, the final season, ended in 1998. So just lining up where he was career-wise with the timeline of him going to school, I completely agree with you. I'm not sure I'm understanding why he needed to go. I don't understand why he needed to go, unless he just wanted to go for the experience, which I'm not going to take that away from anybody. If you want to go because you want to be able to have the experience, I can understand it, but I can only understand it if you can financially take on that and not come out of the other end with said debt. Very much like you, my misgivings with college aren't necessarily with the institutions themselves, but with this culture around the idea that you have to attend them in order to be able to achieve and self-actualize in life. That's what I'm against. And I have a similar experience to what he described, in that I was essentially forced to go without discovering who I am or what reason that I'd have for going in the first place. The idea is, this is what you need to do, so you're going to go, and we're basically just hoping on a prayer that you'll figure it out while you're there. And the problem with that hope and a prayer is you can get 2, 4, 5, 6 years in. And if you don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to sustain that without getting into debt, you're now leveraging your future against this hope and prayer. And if you can determine that that's a risk worth taking, go for it. I believe that it's not a risk worth taking. Unless you come from a well-to-do family who can afford to send you who can afford to send you to college, and you don't have to go on the state's dime or any federal loan dimes, you should not participate. You shouldn't attend without knowing what you want to go for. And I think the purpose of these institutions is for individuals to attend them with a sound plan of action. You need to know why you're going. And if you don't know why you're going because you want to have the experience, in my opinion, does not justify the leverage to your future that you will incur by going without that plan in place. So I think you need to know why you're going. And I think that takes some discovery. If there's a kid who's middle class or lower class and they graduate high school, if they don't know who they are, what they're good at, what their latent talent is, therefore they don't know the means by which they would want to leverage that, they need to be given the time to figure that out without shipping them off to these places and taking out these loans and figuring it out on the fly. Because 9 times out of 10, even if they are able to make it out on the other end, you're funneling them into the slavery system where they are going to be perpetually depending on a check writer, and they are going to be perpetually clocking into a time clock, or they are going to be perpetually depending on a salary, having to report to work every day for 9 hours like a drone, but not actually self-actualizing. That is the path more often than not that college sends people to if they go without knowing what they want to go for. So I think you need to have a plan. Speaking as someone who did not have a plan, I regret it every day of my life. I regret it. I regret it 100%. See, unlike Jaleel White wished that he had dropped out after 2 years. Me, on the other hand, I wish that I had just never gone. Or rather, if I was to go, I would have rather gone after 2 years when I discovered what it is that I like to do. The course of my life would have been completely different. I probably would have went to a different school. I would have taken a different discipline, and my career path would have been completely different. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses, because as I've gotten older and learned who I was, I can make changes for the better. It's never too late, blah, 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 blah. But time waits on no one, and time is a precious commodity. And the earlier you can figure these things out, the better. So that goes to say that I do believe that college has a place, but I do think that you need to know why you're going. I think you need to know why you're going. I think you need to have a plan. And if you are devoid of that plan, and if you are devoid of that purpose and that mission, you should delay it until you discover that. And if in the meantime you discover that your path lies elsewhere, that takes you on a beaten path that is different than college, then so be it. It's your life, and you should be allowed to live that without the influence of others who want to force you into a situation without knowing for sure that that's where you need to be. So I hear where he's coming from, and I feel for a lot of these kids who are coming up in the world and they don't know who they are. And so they're being bamboozled into the idea that, well, I may not know who I am, but I should just attend this institution, and at some point along the way, I'll figure it out. Oftentimes, you don't figure it out. And if you do, you figure it out in lieu of wasting a whole lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that. And yeah, and I agree with the part where you got to know what you're doing. And I think college, as it stands now, really only serves engineering people and people that want to get into medicine. If you're not doing engineering or medicine, you're completely 100% wasting your time. Yeah, if you were like that lady was joking around, like a history person, read your own books. You know, if you want to be somebody that's in, arts, any kind of art, just go to a film school. You don't need to go to college for that. Business administration, same thing, man. It's just like There should be what business do you want to get into, and then get into a thing with that, do an apprenticeship with somebody, do this and do that. Like, there's ways of doing it. But yeah, so people that's just going there for the social sciences and other things, like if you don't plan on going to get your doctorate in any of these things, where if it's like psychology, you better be getting your doctorate so you got something, but yeah, man, it only serves certain fields. Me, I'm grateful that I went to college. K through 12 did me dirty. It did me dirty, bro. So me going to college and me wanting to get good grades, I had to pay attention and stuff, and study and learn good habits. So it kind of whipped me into shape. And me going to FAMU, man, changed my life. It showed me that I wasn't a crackpot. I wasn't some crazy man, because I mean, we had classes that were actually in line with everything that I was telling people about, or I would do my own research for, and this class is centered around that. And it really helped me because my professors were like older versions of me, and they kind of helped me see the world in a particular way, and they kind of, mentored me in a lot of ways. So, but that doesn't mean, so I appreciated it. HBCUs are great for that respect, but at the same time, all right, that doesn't have to wait until you're in your 20s, is my point. And the school system itself is flawed. The school system sets you up to go to college. It's a whole setup. So from kindergarten all the way to your graduation in college, it was all a setup to be in this streamline of bogusness. And the human mind is an amazing thing, and retention is an amazing thing. And people are able to learn this stuff, calculus and all of those things, calculus 1 and 2. They can learn that in high school. They can learn that in middle school. But people aren't being pushed or challenged. There's too much there's too much in the society about playing and having a good time. And college was a lot of that too, playing and having a good time. So yeah, my problem is with the overall school system, from kindergarten to 12th grade, and then college is just an extension of that. And then a lot of these universities carry with them doctrines that got them thinking in certain ways that are that aren't really helpful, I feel, towards the upward mobility of society, as ironic as that sound, because a lot of those classes are, or things that are going on there, to take a word from our first conversation, a little too woke. And there's a lot of that stuff going on college campuses as well. You have to think a certain way. You have to be this level of inclusive, that level of this. And there's a lot of that going on too. So these are more or less programming stations. I felt like I kind of bucked the system by going to FAMU, particularly in my major in psychology, because the other classes that I would dibble and dabble in, whether it's political science or business or whatever, they was learning the status quo stuff that don't serve nobody. And everybody that was in those majors more or less was on a status quo. But the psychology department was phenomenal. It really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And so college can be helpful. You just got to know what you want to do, as you mentioned. And honestly, people that live around me now, these people from India and stuff, they drive nice cars. They never stressed about nothing, because you could tell they got money in the bank. And they all do engineering and stuff, or they're doctors, and they went to college for that. So, there's a way for you to set yourself up. But if you're going there for theater, you wasted your damn time. So you gotta go to college for the right thing. So as the system's set up now, you gotta know what you're doing. But overall, I think it's a racket and extortion of the people, a way to tax them, and a way to keep them in debt, perpetual debt for the rest of their lives in many cases. So hey man, teach their own, man. For my youngin, what I do, if they want to do engineering or be a doctor, then yeah, go through that path. But anything else for that matter, you're getting it off the muscle outside of it.
Yeah, it's not worth the leveraging of your future financially, in my opinion, to go on a whim without having a sound plan. I think every parent or caregiver has a responsibility to really pay attention to your kid and kind of be with them step by step as they mature and get older, and help them understand what are some of the latent talents that they have that they might want to leverage, because that is all a part of discovering what you might want to do once you've reached that critical juncture of going to college or doing something else. And I think a lot of caregivers and parents and people in the households, they take a real hands-off approach in that regard, most people, and they just send the kid to school and that's it. And then come 18, the kid's ready to graduate. And if the kid hasn't figured it out for themselves, the parent is just like, well, go to college. And in my opinion, that's just the wrong approach. I like I said, I don't think college is antiquated. I think it has a place and it is useful. It's just not useful for people who don't know what they want to do or don't know what their plan is. I don't think it is a good idea to attend these four-year universities with no plan in place. I think you have to be very strategic because it can cost you in the long run. It really can. And to me, it's just not worth it. So like you said, you mentioned engineering and medicine, things like, for example, I knew somebody who went to school and learned actuary science. So he came out on the other end knowing how to read stock market charts and understand market fluctuations. He knew how to work the stuff. It was basically a skill set that he learned that put him in position to know how to work the stock market and be like a wealth management investor or a stockbroker. That is a valued skill that he had to attend these courses to learn. So things like that, you do need college for. But as you mentioned, if you're going to get an English degree or you're majoring in theater or any of these other kinds of things, there might be other more pragmatic ways for you to go about gaining that education that can still put you in position to be fruitful in the future without having to leverage that same future with the potential of going in debt. And I think the more often you send people into these places without knowing what that plan is, the higher the likelihood that they will be leveraging that future. So, that's just, obviously I'm personalizing because I'm speaking from experience. And, you learn what, you live and you learn. So I've been able to glean certain things that I would do differently with my own children, which is all a part of the circle of life. But I do believe that we are no longer in a time where you can afford literally to be like, well, you might not know what you want to do, but we'll just send you to college so you can figure it out. That is an ideal that was applicable 20, 30 years ago. There is no longer a middle class, the middle class no longer exists. You are either affluent or poor. There's no middle ground. You're either below the median household income where you can afford to do things and have disposable income, or you're above that threshold where you can be able to almost do whatever you want. The middle ground no longer exists. And the problem is the majority of the population still exists in what used to be that middle ground. And therefore, not most of us can no longer afford the luxury of being able to ship somebody off to a four-year institution and, have the confidence that they can come out on the other end without too much of their future being leveraged. These days, it is 100% a leverage play. You're either leveraging none of that future because you are confident in the direction that you're taking, or you're leveraging all of it on the chance that they'll figure it out. And me personally, I don't think that that's a chance worth taking. That's just my perspective. And so from that standpoint, I hear where he's coming from. He should have dropped out. He should have dropped out, especially someone in his position when he already had something charted for himself moving forward. But for people who aren't in the fortuitous position that he's in, it's definitely worth reconsidering.
Yeah. And but he just had to make mama happy, man. You know how that go. And it's either one of those things where everybody in our family goes to college, or nobody has, and you're going to be the one that do it, or this acting career may not pan out forever, so get yourself a degree. You know how it is, man. And yeah, man. So just make mama happy, man. And if you're Jaleel White, what you crying about, bro? I guess he's just mad that he went. I think he's just mad because he shouldn't be crying about debt. That's for damn sure.
I don't think he is. I think he's just speaking on the futility of it in certain respects. I think that's where he was coming from. Like, like I'm in this position where I've never been degree checked before. So why did I go? I should have dropped out after 2 years. So I think he's speaking on the potential futility of it, which I do think is most people's experience. There's a futility inherent in the approach that I would say the majority of people take to going to college. Not everybody, because some people are fortunate enough to be able to either stumble upon their purpose in life early, and more power to those people. I'm actually jealous of those people. Or they are in a position in which maybe their family has money, their parents are able to comfortably afford to send them to this discovery zone without the risk of them leveraging their future financially to do so.
Yeah.
So those two categories, go ahead, more power to you. But I think the majority of the people aren't in that position, and people are just going on a whim. And these days, like I said, where economics are crazy, the world markets are crazy, there is no more middle class. You're either broke or you're not. For those people who are in that position where it's like, hey man, we broke, it bears asking the question whether it's worth leveraging that financial future.
Yeah, man. Hey, just get yourself a trade, man. You know what I'm saying? Just go get a trade. But yeah, man, I agree, man. I think college is a racket, and it only serves you in a few fields, and especially pressing forward the way AI is working out nowadays. Your theater degree really don't mean squat. don't even wait. If your kid's in 9th grade, 10th grade right now, you know what I'm saying? They got a handful of fields that they can get into. And like I said, man, engineering, medicine, or anything in that ilk. But all of that social science stuff, it was a joke 5 years ago. It's even more of a joke now. So don't waste your time with that. Find yourself a trade school or something else, man, because the tides have changed. And hell, man, this has been a problem for the last decade.
I would say it's been 20 years.
Yeah,
I think that this was a problem when we graduated, honestly.
It was a problem. It was a problem while we were in there. We were already hearing that.
Yeah,
we was already hearing it while we were in there.
I mean, graduate high school.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we were hearing it then, and we still went. You know.
Well, I was forced. I ain't even gonna front. That's why I was like Jaleel. I had my caregivers making me go. Yeah, man. And I expressed, I'm not a genius, but even at 18 years old, I knew that I didn't know who I was. And I was saying even back then, I don't really know who I am at this point, so I'm not exactly sure if it's a good idea for me to go to this place. But it didn't matter. I was the child, and I wasn't given a choice. I was forced to go. So, for any of y'all kids out there who are being forced to go to college, I feel for you. I know how it feels.
Just pick engineer. I'll tell you, man. Those kids from Nigeria, from India and stuff, where their parents are just forcing them to go to engineering school or medical school. They don't want to do it. And they be mad while they in school. I done seen them. I done talked to them. But them people on the back end of that, they making 6 figures plus. So, if y'all is going to college, force yourselves to do something where you know the back end is $100K a plus.
Yeah.
So do yourself that favor. But all that other soft stuff where, you know what I'm saying, you just gonna get an entry level job somewhere, might as well, you better off staying off at the house.
Yes, it is not it is not worth it to just be some sort of a coordinator or entry level professional. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Shouts out to Jaleel White, bro. You know.
Yes. Go Bruins.
Now we are going to discuss the fallout from the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fiasco.
Oh boy.
Because many people are speculating that this fight had a predetermined outcome.
Oh.
And now the people involved in the fight want to make it clear that the outcome was not predetermined and that it is scandalous, salacious, unfair, incomprehensible for anyone to suggest that the outcome of this fight was predetermined, and to do so does a disservice to the participants involved. So this is a lot of virtue signaling on behalf of the people who were involved in the production of this production. Not to sound redundant there. But this says claims that fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson was rigged are incorrect and baseless, says promoter. Claims that the recent record-breaking boxing match between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson was rigged are incorrect and baseless, illogical, and inane, the fight's promoter said in a statement Monday. Paul won the controversial bout, which was the most streamed global sporting event in history, via unanimous decision after 8 2-minute rounds, with judges scoring the fight 80-72, 79-73, 79-73. Most Valuable Promotions, which was co-founded by Paul, defended the authenticity of the YouTuber-turned-boxer's victory, writing that suggestions to the contrary were fictitious. The statement read, both fighters in good faith performed to the best of their abilities with the goal of winning the fight. There were absolutely no restrictions, contractual or otherwise, around either fighter. Each boxer was able to use his full arsenal to win the fight. Any agreement to the contrary would violate Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations boxing rules. Trash talk and speculation are common in sports, and athletes and promoters need to tolerate nonsensical commentary, jokes, and opinions. But suggesting anything other than full effort from these fighters is not only naive, but an insult to the work they put into their craft and to the sport itself. It is further illogical and inane that MVP, in the debut of a hopeful long-term partnership with the world's biggest streamer, an organization that made its first ever foray into live professional sports with Paul versus Tyson, would even so much as consider such a perverse violation of the rules of competition. The bout was streamed on Netflix and saw peak viewing figures of 65 million. More than 72,000 attended the match at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, paying a total of $18,117,017 to do so, the most for any U.S. fight ever outside of Las Vegas. The event also broke various betting records, according to ESPN, with both BetMGM and ESPN Bet reporting that more money had been wagered on the fight than any other combat event in either company's history. However, the fight drew criticism from across social media and the boxing world. Hall of Famer Oscar De La Hoya was among those who questioned the legitimacy of the result. Everyone is talking about how staged this fight was, said De La Hoya, who is now a promoter on Instagram. I do believe it was scripted, and I believe that Tyson was certainly held back. Look, I'm a fighter and I can see it. It goes on the record, and if it was sanctioned, so Jake Paul paid to get the W on his record for what? For his own personal satisfaction? Paul's own comments after the match added to the controversy. This 27-year-old told a press conference that he definitely took his foot off the gas, adding that I wanted to give the fans a show, but I didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt. Nakisa Badarian, who is MVP's other co-founder, defended Paul, claiming that those questioning the result are in denial about the former streamer's boxing ability. This is not the first time Jake Paul has faced unfounded skepticism or outright disbelief as a professional athlete. And frankly, the claim that this bout must have been rigged is just the latest backhanded compliment to come his way, Bedarian said. So, I definitely saw a lot of this. I actually did watch this fight, but of course I didn't pay for it. What do you make of the notion that the fight was predetermined, and what do you make of these individuals, Paul and his, business partner, who they both co-founded the promoting company that put this fight on, saying that if you make that assertion that you're just crazy and out of your mind?
Yeah, whatever with those people. This was completely this was a cash grab, and people got with this fiasco. And the winners of this was Jake Paul and Mike Tyson and these promoters. Everybody that was involved, BetMGM got a bag out of this. ESPN got a bag out of this. And the people that bought into this were the losers. So it was all of those people versus the people. And anybody that legitimately thought that they were going to get a legitimate fight here, I feel sorry for those people. And as the fight was going on, as the humiliation showed that it was, because honestly, I only caught the last round. And while looking at the last round, I was like, boy, I could not have watched the other rounds of this crap. Like, what the hell am I watching? Man, it was just a cash grab. So, one of these days, man, no, they won't. I was going to say, one of these days, people are going to wise up to stuff like this. But no, they're not. They're going to just fall for the next one. And the people that bought into this, the people that actually didn't have a Netflix subscription and went and got one just for this, I feel sorry, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gotta hold that L. But in the sense of holding that L, hopefully you're aware now that there's going to be more of these types of events. It may not be Netflix, but there's going to be more horse and pony shows like this. This is akin to like a circus act where come watch the man box the kangaroo.
Yeah.
And the guys say, hey, wait, a man boxing a kangaroo? No way.
It's paying a ticket to see the three-headed conjoined twins.
Yeah, or the bearded lady.
Yeah.
Or, wait a second. We got those now. Ha ha ha. No. Ain't nobody paying to see that. No, but seriously, it's the same thing. It's the same traveling circus with carnies and stuff. And people actually bid it in 2024. So for the people that's hollering that, oh, this was fake, this wasn't really real, newsflash, man. We could have told you this 4 months ago. But I feel sorry for the people that actually fell for it. Next time, I won't feel sorry for you. But what are your thoughts, man, on people speculating that, hey, man, this fight wasn't really authentic, and the promoter saying that we're just delusional haters that don't want to give Jake Paul his credit? What are your thoughts, man?
I don't think it was rigged, but I do believe it was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the outcome was predetermined, but I also think the crime in this, for lack of a better word, because it's obviously not a crime, but the crime in this whole thing is people actually cared to see a 68-year-old man fight a YouTuber. That's the crime in all of this. Like, to that end, I say, who cares? Like Mike Tyson's, I said 68. Mike Tyson's 58 years old.
Mm-hmm.
In what aspect of life does a 58-year-old beat a 27-year-old in anything physical or athletic? But people bought into the idea that this would actually be competitive. And that's the problem. So I don't care about whether it was rigged or not, if it was predetermined. To me, who cares? The point is, where is this? The point to this whole thing is, what was it? 65 million people at peak viewing hour, at the peak viewership of this fight. 65 million people were looking at this. And the gate earned over $18 million. The most for any U.S. fight ever outside of Las Vegas. Do you know how many great actual fighters have performed outside of Las Vegas?
Yeah, man.
Do you know I've watched Canelo Alvarez fight legitimate boxers not in Las Vegas? I've seen all kinds of actual boxers, premier boxers, not fight in Las Vegas. And the fight that broke the record was 58-year-old Mike Tyson versus 27-year-old Jake Paul, who rose to prominence making YouTube videos about Pokemon cards. So of course they're laughing to the bank.
Absolutely.
And the real perpetrators of this are people who buy this stuff. Boxing is boxing. You speak often about people who aren't, like, how humans are just not serious. Boxing is a non-serious sport. And the people who follow it have embraced this and have basically decided, well, boxing doesn't take itself seriously, so why should I take it seriously? I'm just going to, get my popcorn and get my seat on the couch, and I'm going to pay for my ticket to the circus that pulls up in the parking lot of your local mall to see the trapeze artist or the 8-foot tall gator. Or, like I said, the conjoined Siamese twins, or the 8-foot tall giant with one arm or one eye, the Cyclops man, or something.
Yeah,
that's what you sign up for with this stuff. But boxing, because it's been ruined by promoters, has become a non-serious sport, and so its fandom is also non-serious. So I don't even care about it being rigged. Who cares? Because even if the result was legitimate, the fact that this was even a thing is a joke in the first place. So I'm looking at these, and you know what's so disappointing is some of these sanctimonious, self-righteous boxing purists who defend boxing against stuff like this were some of the same people that I was watching leading up to the fight, talking about how they couldn't wait for this and how they were going to buy it.
No.
So at that point, what's the point? Who cares? Why are we even debating this? Everybody is complicit in being a part of the sideshow that boxing has become. So if we're all complicit in it, why are we even chattering about whether it was a conspiracy or it was fixed? Who cares? Who cares? Why do we care that it was fixed? What's the point? I don't get it. That's like, that's like paying, that's like going to, like, your local state fair and paying to get onto the rickety roller coaster. And then when you get off the ride, you're complaining to the people who put the fair together that the roller coaster was rickety. Like, that's what these little fairs are. That's what these little fairs are known for. Bad food, those petting zoos with those animals that no one wants to see, and rickety roller coasters. You know this going in. So why complain about the roller coaster being rickety after you've gotten off of it and you got a disjointed hip or your neck's screwed up? Whose fault is that? So this is boxing being not serious and playing into people being complicit in wanting to get more of it, even though they know it's not serious. I don't give a damn if it was fixed or not. It was the largest. It made over $18 million, and it was streamed by 65 million people, which is silly. I've watched Gervonta Davis fight in a non-Vegas fight. I've watched Devin Haney fight in a non-Vegas fight. Like I said before, Canelo Alvarez. I've watched what's that guy's name? The guy who I think right now is the best pound for pound fighter. He has no competitors right now. No, No, not him. Well, I guess you can throw him in that boat too. I watched Terrence Crawford fight in a non-Vegas fight, and none of these people did the numbers that this fight did. Why? Like, if we really wanted to if we really cared about retaining the sanctity of boxing, then Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. would have made the most money ever. And it didn't. So that's my spin on this. My takeaway from this is, who cares? I don't care if it was fixed. I don't care if it was fixed or not. People are going to want it anyway. These people, Jake Paul can literally get on a video right now. He could literally post to his Twitter right now and say, hey, y'all, I'm fighting this person next. And I'm telling you right now, the result is going to be, I'm going to win by decision after the 5th round. And these people will still buy it anyway.
No, it's gonna do numbers, whatever is next.
It'll still do not. So you don't really care about whether it's fixed or not in the first period.
Right.
In that case, you don't really care. So what really are you complaining about? Boxing is a not serious sport, which is sad for me to say because I grew up with it being my second favorite sport. And it is no longer that because it doesn't take itself seriously. And when you don't take yourself seriously, this is what you get. I don't care if it was fixed or not.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, man. From hearing you give that explanation, it's basically what's happening right now is that Jake Paul is the new phenomenon in boxing because he's bringing over his YouTuber pill, and what he's doing now is he's being a legitimate. Hear me out. He's not a legitimate boxer. He's an influencer.
Well, he's a legitimate boxer because boxing is delegitimized.
But that's what I'm saying. But what I'm getting at, yeah, he's not a real boxer.
Right.
He gets in there, he brawls. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He didn't do this his whole life. He's not a boxer. He's an influencer. He gets away with enough to make it seem like he's boxing, but he's not a real boxer. So hear me out. So I grew up liking boxing too, but to me, there was always this, I might say some stuff that's offensive to people, but to me, there was always this WWF, WWE type thing going on. I've seen too many fights where people are taking dives. You didn't really even get hit like that, but you on the ground now. I've seen people get hit, knocked the hell out. I'm not saying it's fake, but what I'm saying is I've seen people take dives. Now, whether that guy was just being a bitch and didn't want to fight this person for real like that, just wanted to bag, who knows? But I've seen people. There's Mike Tyson stuff. If you want to look at Mike Tyson's knockouts and stuff, there's people out there that's barely getting grazed, and they're falling out on the ground, getting knocked out. And everybody knows that at least for me, back in the day, what's his name, Don King. And these promoters, their objective was to make somebody out of somebody that looks like somebody. Mike Tyson was that. He fit the mold, so he's no different than I'm not trying to be blasphemous. Just stick along with the analogies, but he's no different than like a Drake or something. Like somebody that has the marketability and the ability to do certain things to drive up viewership. I think back in the day it was really boxing. So the Muhammad Ali's, the Holyfields and stuff like that. What's the guy with the grill? George Foreman's, even though there's probably collusion and stuff back then. When I grew up in the 90s and I'm seeing all of this stuff, all I saw was Don King putting on a show, promoting and whooping and whooping. And right now, boxing is so boring. It's so not it that nobody's going to drive viewership like a Jake Paul would. So what these promoters are doing, and this fight, even though he was fighting a 58-year-old man, it's legitimizing him as a boxer for more stuff down the line. And if they can keep doing numbers like this, especially when he's fighting a 58-year-old man, the next one is going to do bigger numbers. And then the next one's going to do bigger numbers. This guy's going to keep winning. This Jake Paul guy, he's going to keep winning. And the reason being is because it's doing, like you said, boxing's not taking itself seriously no more. They don't care. They just want bags. And so right now, Jake Paul is the new boxing phenomenon. Floyd Mayweather's done. So ain't no more driving up viewership and stuff like that no more. Who else is doing it? You know what I'm saying? Only the people that really like boxing is going to sit down and watch Crawford and Canelo and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But all the casuals that used to tune in and watch somebody like a Mike Tyson, these casuals ain't watching Crawford. These casuals ain't watching Canelo. They'll watch Jake Paul versus Canelo. Now that'll be something that's going to drive bigger viewership. So my point is that they found themselves a cash cow here in this Paul guy, and they're going to keep riding this thing. And I think where De La Hoya was coming from, in a sense, was they let this guy win for more. So the next fight, there's going to be a bigger cash out. There's going to be a big audience. And because if this thing did all these numbers in today's economy, this guy is the real deal when it comes to attraction. And boxing, what I'm saying, from what I can see, that they put people on, kind of like Goldberg when he first got in the WCW, man. He didn't lose a fight. And it was must-see TV, man. Every time he come out and spear somebody, it was like, man, Goldberg is still undefeated. But it's part of the script. And I think that's what's going on here with this Jake Paul guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry for the boxing people. I didn't mean to offend people with that take there. But I saw a lot of goofy stuff. Once you're dealing with Vegas, man, you got a lot of collusion and weird stuff. So I'm not surprised that boxing, there's been some weird stuff in MMA things. Guys losing to people that they shouldn't lose to and stuff like that. So once you get into these fights, man, when you get into anything that involves sports betting, honor and dignity is out of the window. And so, yeah, this Jake Paul guy, I don't know who's going to crush these numbers. So they're going to make this guy a legitimate boxer, and he's going to fight somebody legitimate, and he's going to beat him. So my money's going to be on Jake Paul on next season, next person he fight. I'm voting on Paul because they need this train to keep going because everybody in boxing's eating.
Well, thus far, he has not fought an actual boxer in his prime. So I'll believe that when I see it. I think the reason why I think the reason why he continues to win is because he's fighting either non-boxers or boxers who are way past their prime. Yeah. And so the result is predetermined from the standpoint that the likelihood of him winning is greatly increased because he's not actually fighting a boxer who's in his prime or a boxer at all. So until the day that he fights someone that fits that build, it will continue to be a joke. But yeah, he is a legitimate boxer because boxing as a sport has precipitously been delegitimized over the course of the last several years. So it's almost like he's the least smelliest piece of feces in a room full of smelly feces, if you will. But I'm not buying it. I don't think it matters whether it's fixed or not because it's not legitimate. It's just it's a carny show. It's a carny act. So who cares?
RIP to boxing, man.
Yeah, RIP to boxing like 10, 15 years ago. Been out of here. Been out of here. Next up, we have an interesting story involving Walmart. Walmart has decided to tail back its DEI policy. It's doing away with, not doing away with it, but it's like kind of scaling it back. That's what I meant to say, scaling it back. Walmart is scaling back its DEI policy after taking some heat from conservative activists who don't really see the point of having DEI. They think it's like a form of reverse discrimination. And Walmart, of course, is big business and big corporate America. So to see a corporate place like Walmart dial DEI back is a bit of a talking point that we want to discuss. So this says Walmart rolls back DEI policies amid conservative backlash. Walmart will roll back some of its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, becoming the latest major company to pull back on inclusivity efforts amid pressure from conservative activists. Walmart confirmed to several outlets, including Bloomberg and the Associated Press, that it is making broad changes, including no longer giving priority treatment to suppliers based on race and gender, ending racial equity training for staffers, and exiting from the LGBTQ rights group Human Rights Campaign's Corporate Equality Index. The supposed changes were first announced on X by prominent anti-DEI conservative pundit Robbie Starbuck, who said the move was in response to the threat of him doing a story on wokeness at the company ahead of the key holiday shopping season. Starbuck claimed that he had productive conversations with executives at Walmart who promised to implement these changes. The company confirmed to Bloomberg that it had held conversations with Starbuck, but claimed it was already reviewing its DEI efforts before that. Aside from changes to its DEI policies, Walmart has also agreed to monitor its online marketplace for listings by third-party sellers that Starbucks describes as sexual and or transgender products marketed to children and remove them if necessary. The company also told AP it plans to review grants for Pride events to ensure it was not financially supporting sexualized content that may be unsuitable for kids. In his post, Starbucks noted, I have to give their executives major credit because this will send shockwaves throughout corporate America. This is the biggest win yet for our movement to end wokeness in corporate America. Billionaire Elon Musk, who himself is a vocal critic of DEI initiatives and has reshared and responded to Starbucks posts previously, praised the conservative pundit's latest announcement. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, who is also President-elect Trump's pick to be the next U.S. ambassador to Israel, also hailed Starbucks, calling him perhaps the most influential person in America, restoring our culture and country to sanity. Starbucks, who has more than 700,000 followers on X, has emerged as one of the most prominent conservative figures targeting companies over DEI initiatives. Starbucks scored his first win earlier this year after his online campaign against Tractor Supply's DEI policies forced the retailer to reverse course. At the time, the company announced it would stop sponsoring Pride events, stop submitting data to the Human Rights Campaign, and withdraw its carbon emission goals. Starbucks will go on to target several other major companies, including Ford, Lowe's, and Harley-Davidson, who have all since also rolled back their DEI measures. 1.6 million, that's the total number of workers at Walmart. That's the total number of workers Walmart hires in the U.S., according to its website. This makes it the biggest American company so far to have rolled back its DEI initiatives. The right-wing pundit indicated in an X post that he is not done targeting companies, especially large retailers. Starbucks wrote, companies like Amazon and Target should be very nervous that their top competitor dropped woke policies first. I think Target specifically will suffer serious sales problems as a result, and Walmart will benefit. So there you have it. Walmart, due to mounting pressure, apparently, is rolling back its DEI initiatives. It's not the first company to do so, but it's the biggest. So what do you make of this development?
Honestly, bro, I'm a little surprised. This stuff is happening faster than I thought. I thought, it'd be more aggressive DEI. I thought it was going to be, DEI LXQ. I thought it was just going to keep adding on stuff. But nah, man, for Walmart to take a step back, we'll see what ends up happening with this, but I think this is pretty intriguing. Especially with the transgender and pride stuff. So come back off of that. Like, I've never thought I would see that. So I'll see what happens this upcoming June to see if Walmart, does its rainbow stuff, and its logo and all this other things like everybody else does in June. But yeah, man, I really thought that this was the wave in corporate America. I didn't think this would get rolled back anytime soon. I thought this was going to be how it is. So this is quite interesting, man. But I do think there's more people out there. Excuse me. I do think there's more people out there that are neutral to don't want to see it than people out there that are just 100% for all the extra stuff. And one thing that DEI is it parades around, under the guise of, having, black people in things or whatever, or people in positions that don't earn it or whatever. But, it's a lot of this, sexualization stuff to kids from these corporations because of these things. So I like the fact that they're removing that. I thought that they would never, I wouldn't see the day. So more companies need to follow suit. Call me a conservative because I don't like it. But what are your thoughts, man, on Walmart not only rolling back its prices, but rolling back DEI? What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I always thought that at some point this stuff had to hit a boil.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know when. But I guess maybe we're at that inflection point where the overcorrectness is starting to correct itself.
Mm-hmm.
There was a swift overcorrection. I would like to see it playing out in entertainment, but I think we're a ways away. I think this has cornered the entertainment industry, and I think where wokeness, if you will, can relent on corporate America, because at the end of the day, they can maintain their stranglehold over the entertainment industry. So as long as they can continue to do what they want with movies and television and social media and comedy, for example, then they can deal with Walmart deciding that they're not going to overcorrect for inclusivity based on the grounds of implementing these DEI policies. I've never been a fan of DEI because to me it's disingenuous. It was a direct response to 2020. A lack of diversity has been an issue that has plagued this country since its inception. But for all this time, everybody seemed to just go along to get along. But all of a sudden in 2020, because everybody saw a tragedy take place on social media videos and people started walking the streets and rioting and looting, all of a sudden corporations decided at that point in time that they were going to care. And I don't think that that's a very sustainable model to just sort of knee jerk at a singular moment in time, decide, oh, we're going to flip a switch and start caring. And then you get all of these people in these boardrooms and these focus groups to come up with the best, most comprehensive measures by which to show that you care. And DEI was a result of those board meetings and those focus groups, where it's like, how can we show everyone that we do care about this stuff now, even though we've been able to get away with not caring for so long? Oh, well, let's institute a DEI policy and let's make it public and let's put it on our website to show the world that we now care, even though our company has been in business for, in some cases, over 100 years, and we didn't care before, so we're going to care now. In my opinion, I don't think you can legislate desire. I don't think you can do it. You can force corporations to institute policies of this nature, but at some point, the way that these companies actually function are still going to show proof because they don't actually care. Like it's not baked into the bread of the culture to actually care about these things because such a thing only came about suddenly 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, it's never been a model that was sustainable. It was only a PR move to outwardly be able to show people in a front facing way that we actually care about this stuff. And we've been caring about it now for 4 years ago. So look at how great and angelic we are because now 4 years in, we care about these things. And they don't really care because, again, you can't legislate desire. Like you can't legislate what's in somebody's heart. It's an existential question. How do you make people care? And that is a Rubik's Cube that is, in my opinion, unanswerable. People, you can't just force people to care. And you can make them institute policies like DEI to force their hand, but they're going to do it with a rolled eye, or they're going to do it haphazardly, or they're going to institute it in ways that still, in some way, shape, or form, exclude somebody. Because now the black person who thought they had the job lost it to the trans person.
Yeah.
And for that black person, they don't give a damn that trans person got the job because of DEI. They wanted it just as much as the trans person did. And now they're being excluded because of these ridiculous force-fed policies. So I think dialing it back is the right move because you cannot legislate desire. So good for Walmart. Color me conservative. I've been said I'm conservative. I don't give a I've already publicly defined myself as a bad guy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am a Sith Lord. I am a Dementor. I am. What are some of these other villains in some of these other movies? Right, I'm a Klingon. Weren't Klingon bad guys in Star Trek?
I think so. The Borg.
Yeah. Borg. Yes, I'm a bad guy, ladies. I am socially conservative, people. I have been forced into this bucket. So yes, I'm socially conservative. So I guess I'm a bad guy. I'm a bad person. So be it. And in having said that, I do not see a problem one bit with Walmart rolling back these fake inclusive initiatives, because if they are not built upon a foundation that is solid, built upon a foundation in which it's rooted in the caring of the initiative on a grassroots level, it isn't sustainable. And none of this stuff was sustainable to begin with. So good for them. Roll it back and give everybody their fair shake.
Yeah, man, because, what people decide to do at, what I'm saying, with their genitals, that's on them, man. I don't really care. But my whole thing is what people decide to do with their genitals is not everybody's business. And it doesn't need to be force-fed to everybody. Their ideals don't need to be force-fed to everybody. It doesn't need to be in every store I try to go shop. It doesn't need, like you mentioned, the entertainment thing. Boy, it is really all over there. You can't watch nothing without something being DEI'd. And yeah, man. And so, black people, I guess, in layman's, they feel as though DEI is there to help them. But this was really an LGBT type of thing. And not just that, because, gay people was getting hired before. So this was more in the sense of promoting a lifestyle to people, and I'm not really for that. In the stores and stuff like that, like they said, like there were certain things that were just being sold to kids, and it's like, why are you selling this to kids? Why are you doing this? Like, that's not necessary. And I've known people that were in the community, they were, gay people, and they weren't, they were like, oh, okay, you know what I'm saying? They're not mad that they're being shown in TV shows and stuff like that. But at the same time, there was a situation of like, look, everything that is being promoted out here on our behalf, we're not always all for that. Similar to like Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. Like, who's not against police brutality? Like, let's be real here. But at the same time, these movements get co-opted by bad actors. And then they start promoting stuff out there or initiatives out there that don't really serve the people that are supposed to serve. It's got some other weird ulterior motive and agenda behind it. And one thing that DEI had was it had some strange stuff in there. And it wasn't all the way kosher. And like you said, man, you're forcing people to care about something that they don't really care about. So you can't make me care. So yeah, man, it's a disingenuous movement. That's a good way of putting it, man. It was nothing. You can't make me care about what other people got going on because nobody really cares. But we don't want to see it all the time. We just don't. So yeah, man, I'm with that. And for anybody else out there that's like, oh well, DEI is this. Well, just create your own. Create your own operation and DEI it up. You know what I'm saying? Just see how long that lasts. You know what I'm saying? But just create your own. If you don't like how these corporations are running things, because we talk about this all the time. Hell, we talked about it earlier with the movie making thing. And if you don't like how things are going, to these extent, man, just go out there and create your own, do your own thing, and hire who you want to hire and do whatever you want to do, man.
No one's gonna care.
Yeah, but these major corporations making them, and this is the last thing I say, because whenever people talk about these things and they say, trans this, trans that, and their rebuttal is, we only talk about 1% of the population of the people. It's like, exactly. So why did it need to be in 50% of the movies? Be in 1% of the movies. Then they're authentically represented. But they shouldn't be all up in the store. They shouldn't be all up in the videos. They shouldn't be that. But, and that was my whole thing. So, yeah, I'm with this, man. Y'all can boo me as a conservative person that's preserving the innocent minds out there that don't need to know about sex like that when they're 4 or 5 years old. Let the kids be kids. And let them figure things out when they get a little bit older. And from the sounds of it, that sounds like that's what the stuff that they were against was, pushing this on everybody, and then especially the kids. So, yeah, look out, Target. Look out to other people, man. Y'all need to roll it back yourselves, I would say.
Yeah, I despise Walmart for other reasons. So this is not gonna get me to start spending my money in Walmart again.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. But I don't fault them one bit for this. You can't sustain fake caring.
Agreed.
You can't sustain it. And furthermore, you can't sustain fake caring and want to be profitable at the same time.
Agreed.
Like those two things don't work. If Walmart is going to continue to make billions and billions of dollars a year, they probably recognize that trying to keep this fake caring game going on wasn't the move. So I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit. I think it's a joke.
Agreed.
Last but not least, we are going to get into comments that Charles Barkley made in reference to his thoughts on how the Lakers have handled Bronny James's career thus far. And needless to say, Sir Charles is not a fan. He thinks that the Lakers have botched Bronny's career up to this point, and he thinks that it's a bad look for his dad, LeBron James. So this says NBA legend Charles Barkley criticizes LA Lakers over handling of Bronny James. NBA legend Charles Barkley has criticized the Los Angeles Lakers over their handling of Bronny James this season. The 20-year-old was selected by the franchise in the second round of the NBA draft in June, where he joined his superstar father LeBron in the roster. The pair went on to make history together in October when they became the first father-son duo to appear together in an NBA game. However, the rookie guard has since played a very limited role in the NBA and was assigned to the team's G League South Bay Lakers squad earlier this month. Bronny now plays in the G League when the development team plays at home, but returns to the NBA whenever they hit the road, a move which has some scratching their heads. Among the critics is longtime Sports Turner broadcaster Barkley. They've handled it awful, Barkley recently said on the Better Angle podcast, referring to the Lakers. I thought it was great, a little ceremony his first game, but the kid is not ready to play in the NBA. He should be in the G League so he can play basketball. He's not going to get better sitting on the bench. But also, this thing where he's only going to play home games is stupid. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to the team. Can you imagine the coach of that team? You come off a road trip and there is a player you haven't seen in a week or two, and then you feel like you probably got to play him. I don't think they are doing Bronny any favors. CNN has reached out to the Lakers and LeBron James for comment. Lakers coach JJ Redick told reporters in October that the team had always intended for the rookie to split time between the NBA and the G League throughout the season. The plan for Bronny to move between the Lakers and South Bay has always been the plan since day one, Redick said. Rob Pelinka and I have talked about that. LeBron's talked about that. Barkley also suggested the saga reflected badly on the elder James. It's a bad look for the Lakers. I really like everything LeBron has done, but this is a bad look for him, in my opinion. Bronny has so far enjoyed a slow start in the G League, totaling 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in 57 minutes of action across 2 games. Despite many questioning whether Bronny is ready for the NBA, his father is just grateful for the time he spent with his son on the team. To be able to have this moment where I'm working still and I can work alongside my son, it's one of the greatest gifts I've ever gotten from the man above, and I'm going to take full advantage of it, he told reporters last month. So those are LeBron's comments. So Barkley doesn't like the way that the team has handled this, and he thinks it's a bad look on LeBron. Do you concur with what Barkley had to say?
Of course, man. And it's about time, man. I've seen clips out there with Stephen A. Smith. It's finally gotten on him. Hell, I've seen stuff where Big Wendy, Brian Windhorse, actually has some critiques of LeBron James. Even what's her name? Rachel Nichols has even said some stuff about how she doesn't think that, Bronny will be an all-star in this league. And it's pretty obvious for everything that we've been saying, pretty much this whole saga is that this was an ego play by LeBron. But I think what is going on right now is that everybody on the outside is I think they feel comfortable enough to say it now. I think they already knew this going into it, but they had to go out there and see that boy lay down some bricks the way he has. I mean, hell, I thought he was better than this, He's going out there and putting up really bad performances. He doesn't belong on the same court with these guys. And he doesn't belong on the same court as the G League dudes. And first of all, the G League is not a joke. Okay, those guys can hoop for real.
They're pros.
Yeah, they can really hoop. They just are politically out of the NBA. But they are NBA talent that just due to politics, contracts, what have yous, they don't have a roster spot. But these guys, like you said, they're pros. Okay, so those guys can really hoop. So for people to go, G League, Bronny should be able to put up numbers. And it's like, well, he hasn't even put up numbers in high school. He didn't do it at USC. And he didn't do it in the preseason. He hasn't done it anywhere. And so I think it's really time to see. I think everybody has seen that he really wasn't ready for this moment, especially this year. Who knows going down the line? But I used to reserve stuff for down the line, but he don't even look like he got the down the line-isms. This stuff is looking really shaky from this kid. So I think the likes of those people that I mentioned, the Stephen A. Smith, the Charles Barkley, the Rachel Nichols, Ryan Clark. I mean, there's been so many people out here feeling comfortable enough to say that this don't look right. And this whole number of not letting Bronny travel with the G League team, what's that about? So this is definitely, an ego-driven man not allowing his son to be a man. and go out there and get his own lumps, go out there and earn it on his own. He's not allowing any of that. And he's controlling 100% of this situation. And it's very obvious now. So, you know, LeBron recently said that it's been getting so negative in these streets that he's going to take a break from social media. And, you know, so, you know, this guy here, man, the egomaniac. And this is what I was saying before, man, and I'll let you go soon. But this is what I was saying before, I guess on our one of our first ones, man, where I was saying that I feel sorry for the kid in the sense that he's being dragged through this crap. And he's being the punching bag of a lot of things. And it's all it's all due to LeBron. So I think it's obvious and everybody sees it now. And I think everybody's just ready for this show to be over. But what are your thoughts, man, on Charles Barkley saying that, this is not really a good look for LeBron James, coddling his son, with this G League stuff and all of that. What are your thoughts, man?
He's right.
Mm-hmm.
Barkley's absolutely correct, but Bronny being in the NBA was never about Bronny. It was always about his pops.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main things that I've said consistently about LeBron is he has rabbit ears from the standpoint that he knows how people typically frame his career.
Mm-hmm.
He's aware. He knows what they say on the TV shows. He knows what they say on the debate shows. So he's aware that it's not universally believed that he's the greatest ever.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that it's not universally believed that he's the greatest ever because there are blemishes in his career juxtaposed to people like Jordan. The losses in the finals, the embarrassing defeats earlier in the playoffs when he was a prohibited favorite, all of these sorts of things that have happened throughout his career. Winning a championship in 2020, a lot of people, myself included, don't really hold that championship in very high regard. Yep. I tend to delegitimize that title. I don't really recognize it as a real one. So LeBron knows all of these things are working against him, and he knows that the only things that he has working in his favor are his counting numbers and his longevity. So because he's aware of this, he's also keenly aware that he has to do certain things in order to create new categories that people can use in order to put forth the idea that he is indeed the greatest player ever. Mm-hmm. This is my belief this is why I believe that he continues to play and has not retired, because he knows he won't catch Jordan in rings. He knows he won't catch Jordan in finals MVPs. He knows he won't catch Jordan in signature moments that indelibly stick into the minds of people. Mm-hmm. So what he has to do is try to be a part of inventing new categories. So he's going to play for 25 years and keep averaging 25, 5, and 5 so that he has the numbers argument in his favor. And he's going to play on the Olympics again so that he can get another gold medal.
No.
Yes. So he's going to get on the Olympic team so that he can get another gold medal so that people can say, look at how many gold medals he has. He has more than Jordan. All of these things are inventing new categories. He's going to break the scoring title so that people can say he scored the most points ever. New category. Like, these are all contrived machinations to invent new categories so that he can stake his claim as the greatest ever. And another machination is being able to say that he's the only NBA player to ever play in the same game, let alone on the same team as his son. I believe that these are all machinations that work to reinforce the LeBron James GOAT discussion. That is my personal belief. Mm-hmm. I think it has less to do with Bronny and more to do with how many bullets in the LeBron GOAT holster can he put in there. I think that as calculated as LeBron has made it clear that he is, I don't think people give enough credit to just how calculated this guy is.
Oh yeah.
It reaches sinister levels of calculation.
No, because this whole situation's sick.
Yeah, it reaches sinister levels of calculation. So he knows he has to keep running up the counting numbers in the stat sheet, and he has to keep doing stuff like this. Who knows? He might try to play long enough for his other son to get into the league.
I mean, that's what the whispers are.
So that not only can he be the first guy ever to play in the same game on the same team as one of his kids, but now he can do it twice with the other one. And you will have people like Shannon Sharpe and Nick Wright, his acolytes, who will get on national television and they will say, look at how impressive he is because he's been able to last this long and play with two of his sons. Implicitly suggesting that this is yet another reason as to why LeBron is the greatest ever. I think LeBron cares more than anybody else about being regarded as the greatest player ever. I really believe he cares about that. He cares.
Oh yeah.
And he's gonna grab it as much as he can to try and to state his case. He's going to. Because he can't compete with Jordan in the rings. He can't compete with Jordan in the skill, in my opinion. He can't compete with Jordan in the finals MVP. He can't compete with Jordan in the peak over longevity argument, which is what most people, I would say, look at. Most people who aren't LeBron fanboys, they look at this stuff objectively and they say peak over longevity. Look at what Jordan did. That's what this is about to me. So does it really matter whether his career is being handled properly or not? I guess for the sake of Bronny, it does. But for his masters, those to whom his career ultimately serves, it doesn't matter. Because this is all about LeBron's GOAT argument and nothing else.
It's gross, man. And I mean, I agree 1,000%, man. And you know, like you said, this is reaching the levels of sinister. This is sick what he's doing at this point, because it's very apparent at this point that the young man isn't ready for this. You know, people want to use Bronny's heart situation at the beginning of his USC career, you know, of, hey man, get a guy time to develop and stuff. It's like, well, if he still needed time to develop, let him stay in college and develop. You know, every reason for why they want to give Bronny an out, there is no real reason behind it.
It's not.
And so he shouldn't be in the NBA right now. It's so much so he was getting roasted in the G League. Those guys were tearing him apart and his numbers were horrendous. So much so that, you know, Bronny has this indefinite heel injury now. Because now they're just hiding him. And it's just like, look, man, y'all, how long y'all gonna keep up this charade? As long as LeBron needs it to go. So all of this crap of, oh, hey, man, he putting the black guy on. He putting on his son. He getting his son millions of dollars. He says, LeBron's a billionaire.
And the money thing is a joke, too, because Bronny was like number 2 nationally in NIL earnings. The kid was already his own self-made millionaire making his own money.
Exactly.
So outside of his dad being a billionaire, the money argument is dumb.
Exactly.
Anybody trying to say that it was about Bronny getting to his own bag, it's ridiculous. He was already getting to his own bag.
And honestly, I agree. And honestly, you know, him just leveraging the fact that he's Bronny James was good enough. And he was just going to be making it off of that. But, you know, now he's this guy. I saw, you know, it was I think Gilbert Arena said it or somebody, but, you know, basically he's an influencer. Bronny's an influencer playing basketball. And honestly, he didn't use it in this context, but his job is to be an influencer to convince us that LeBron's the GOAT. And then he's gonna do the same thing, like you said, with Bryce, because Bryce is having shaky numbers too, where he's at. Everybody keeps saying, oh, Bryce is better though. Y'all better see about Bryce. But Bryce got shaky numbers too. And yeah, man, Bronny he just ain't got it, bro. You know, he's athletic, clearly. He can jump, he can run, you know, he can do things, but his level of it that it requires to be playing with these other dogs out here that were, you know what I'm saying, top scorers at their school. Like, you got to think of somebody like Alex Caruso, for example. You know what I'm saying? Like, Caruso was a beast in high school. Like, you know, averaging dumb numbers. And, you know, he's a bench guy. He's a sixth man.
He's a role player.
He's a role player.
Yeah.
But, you know, I came across a clip where somebody was talking about when they had to play Alex Caruso in high school, and he was just, you know, dunking on people, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But it's flipping Alex Caruso. Now, granted, when he played for the Lakers and other stuff, you know, whatever for the Bulls, would he dunk on people then? Yeah, but imagine that in high school against high school level competition. And we never saw that with Bronny. So all of this stuff, comparing him to Davion Mitchell, or hell, what they said Drew Holiday. Come on, man. Drew Holiday is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So, you know, so all of this stuff, man, you know, it's like I said, it's starting to become very, very apparent now to the likes where these big wig people, man, that aren't afraid to point out the obvious anymore.
Good for them.
Yeah, man. So the longer LeBron keeps up this charade, and that's the crazy part. He thinks that all of this stuff is going to make him look like the GOAT. What this is actually going to make you look is pretty desperate. And if anybody out there is really the GOAT, they don't need to campaign for it. So best of luck, Bronny, man, because your pops is got you in a wild position right now, man.
Yeah, you just like you don't need to announce you're leaving social media. You can just stop posting, dude. You can just stop posting, bro. Like this whole, I'm gonna take a break from social media for a while, bro. You're not that important. Just stop posting. You're making an announcement as if it's a matter of national security. People care. We need to be updated on this,
bro. When he's not even. He don't even try to be funny, but I swear he make me laugh every time he do some of this stuff.
Oh, it is no wonder that he is cool with. It is no wonder that he is friends with people like Drake. These are some of the most narcissistic human beings that ever walked the face of this earth.
Yeah, bro.
And I am just like I am ready for Drake to no longer be a thing. I have been ready for LeBron to retire. I am not going to miss him.
Nah, I'm not.
I'm not. I'm not going to miss him. The game, we're going to miss LeBron when he's gone. I'm not. Yeah. I'm waiting for the guy to retire. Yeah. I've been waiting for the guy to retire because his whole career, after I would say the first 12 years, has just been a strategic campaign to position himself to be regarded as the greatest player ever in the eyes of the media.
Yeah,
and he's going to do everything that he can do to make that become more of an objective fact as opposed to a subjective opinion. Mm-hmm. And his kid is a pawn in that epic quest.
It's gross.
It's ridiculous. It's silly. Because I can totally hear Shannon Sharp right now. Jordan never did that. Because Shannon Sharp's quick to do BS like that. Jordan didn't do that. Look at Jordan's sons. How good are Jordan's sons? What did Jordan do when he was 40? Blah, 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 blah. So, like, we're already hearing it. And it's like, look, bro, Shannon, no one's buying it. He's your God. He's not everybody's God.
Exactly. Thank you.
100. I'm over this. So I'm ready for him to be gone, and I'm ready for this to be over. I'm done with it. I feel sorry for the kid in this regard.
Right.
Because it does hamper his development as an individual player.
Right.
So from that standpoint, I do feel bad for him because you want to give him the best chance. But hey, man, he is a part of a web of foolishness.
Agreed.
He's all wrapped up in it. And there's nothing he can do about it. So he's definitely going to have to cry in his Ferrari.
Yeah.
Speaking on Bronny.
Yeah.
He's going to have to. So.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, folks, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and close things out. Another Conscious Approach stream in the books. JV Wins, Dogon SS, back at you once again. Check us out on Instagram at ConApproach, ConApproach. I am on Instagram at JV Wins, JVWINS. If you like the commentary in this or in any of our other videos, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, leave a comment if you have not already done so. We certainly appreciate it as we continue to crank out this logical content. As I always like to say, man, think for yourself, be an independent thinker, have a mind of your own, and don't be swayed by anyone else who tries to tell you how you should or should not be thinking. Also, check out Conscious Approach on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We're uploading the full streams there. And be on the lookout for Conscious Approach on TikTok. We're going to start uploading the videos there too. So we're just trying to get in front of more people's faces and anybody who might appreciate what we like to do here. We just want to give ourselves the ability, or at least the chance, to be seen. So with that out of the way, I am JV Wins. We'll catch you on the next video. Peace.
And the name is Dogon SS. You can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube, TikTok, DraftKings. You know what I'm saying? At Dogon_SS. Basically, if there's a social media platform, okay, Dogon_SS, you're gonna find your boy. And as I say on every pod, guys, all right, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it pure. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until the next time, everybody, thank you for liking and subscribing. More rings than Robert Ory. We'll catch y'all on the next episode. Yeah.
That's right, man. We are out of here. We will see everybody on the next stream. Shouts out to all the creators out there too. I'm bigging them up lately, man. I feel for all my creators. Keep doing your thing. Keep creating that good art. Shouts out to Kendrick and shouts out to Katt Williams. Until the next time, we are out. We will see you later. Peace, baby.
Peace. Go Rattlers. Go Cards. And I guess go Heat, man. Damn. Yeah, last I seen, the Bucks was beating them.
Yeah, well, we caught up.